the Care Girl podcast and experience.
Hi, it's the Care Girl podcast, and I'm here today in downtown Decatur with Abbey of Clarity Fitness. How are you today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for having me. I think I've been here since you were building this place.
For sure.
And it has expanded and grown so much, and I'm so excited to see your growth. And every time I come in, your team is bigger, you're doing better, you're growing, and you're happy. That's one thing I love about this place. Those that don't know Abbey, she is the owner of Clarity Fitness, the first body positive gym, the one of many. I know there are going to be way more locations.
For sure.
So tell us a little bit about how you came upon the idea for this place.
For sure. So I'm in eating disorder recovery, and that was really like the catalyst that got me excited about creating an inclusive and positive space to work out. And there are other body positive gyms around the world, but there are none that are the full studio, the full high-end studio feel, and we're the first in Georgia. So super excited to be here, and I'm just really grateful to have created something from my own recovery and be able to connect with trainers and group X instructors and therapists and dietitians that are all aligned with that weight inclusive, health at every size feel and approach.
I love that.
Thank
I love
you.
that. And thank you for sharing that intimate part of you, because a lot of people, struggle with body images, and they struggle with, eating and things of that nature. Is that something that you just that happened like during childhood? Is that something that you just have always dealt with?
For sure. So 2020 hindsight, I didn't realize at the time, but I believe that I had been impacted by my eating disorder since about first grade. And really that just came from my family having a lot of pressure on themselves about body image. And when people put weight loss above everything, that's really when health can start to degrade. Health is so much of a bigger spectrum than just the number on the scale. So if all you're paying attention to is weight loss, weight loss, weight loss, that's when eating disorders, disordered eating, really negative body image, and just a fear of gaining weight can come through. And that was what they had really dealt with personally, and unfortunately that carried on to me. So I remember being bullied in first grade about weight. I remember being sent to camps to try and force myself to eat a certain way or work out, and guilt my parents into feeling bad about my weight, which just further perpetuated that fat phobia or that fear of weight gain, fear of being in a bigger body. And there's so much science out there that shows that you can be in a bigger body, you can gain weight, you can stay in a bigger body, and your health doesn't have to be impacted by that. So you can be incredibly healthy by incorporating different choices into your day, living your life, relaxing, being stress-free, and that can show up in blood work, in stress tests, without the number on the scale dropping. So just talking more about that, bringing awareness to that. And then unfortunately when I went to college, things really picked up with the eating disorder, and just sought out for help then.
Yeah, understandable. For those who don't know what a eating disorder looks like, I know there are different types. Can you kind of break that down? Because somebody might discover on this podcast that they may have it. So I would like to understand that more. If you could break down maybe the different types.
Yeah, definitely. So there are a ton of different types. Some of them aren't even in the DSM yet. So the main ones that we hear about the most are anorexia, bulimia, orthorexia, and now there's lots of different variations in terms of abusing certain medications to try to lower your weight or to quote-unquote detox your body. There's lots of different things around exercise addiction, and the main questionnaire for specifically anorexia is the SCOFF questionnaire, and I'm not sure if I can remember all the questions off the top of my head, but it's basically around do you believe yourself to be in a bigger body when other people don't see you that way? And I have some issues with that question just because anorexia doesn't present in a certain body type. So I know that I never sought out support because I never got to a weight that I considered, in my lack of medical professionalism, to be anything of concern, and I didn't think I was quote-unquote sick enough because I didn't look like I had anorexia, in air quotes, and that's just a really dangerous headspace to have, because anorexia is about restricting food. It's about a ton of anxiety around food and weight and body and when are you going to eat, what are you going to eat. If food rules more than 80% of the thoughts in your day, that's something that you can seek support for, regardless of how you look. So that was something that I learned. Bulimia is purging of food, so that could be from making yourself sick, that could be abusing laxatives, that could be working out to try to quote-unquote burn off what you ate. Anorexia, again, is just about restrictions. So I remember I would track everything. I remember I would, like if I had even just like a Tic Tac, I would put that in my Fitness Pal and just beat myself up over calories. And I remember if I had planned out what I was going to eat for the day and something changed, I would get really, really stressed out about it and just be super on edge about what I had planned being wrong or missing macros or calories or whatever. And again, that just obsession, that space that when can I eat? Oh, I have to make it until dinner. All of these negative thoughts that really weren't serving me just took up so much of my headspace and really took a toll on who I was and building relationships and ultimately living life. So, and then the last one that I wanted to talk about, and binge eating disorder. I apologize. That's another really big one. That one gets a interesting rep because I think it's kind of like how people say, oh, my OCD is flaring, and they don't really mean that they have OCD. They'll be like, oh, I have binge eating disorder, and you really, really need to be careful saying things like that because it is genuinely a medical condition, and so we can't just throw those words around. But binge eating is when you can restrict for a really long period of time, and then you eat a ton of food to the point where you feel ill, or just eating a ton of food to the point where you feel quote unquote out of control around food. And then that can sometimes lead to purging afterwards, and that's just like a really vicious cycle. And then orthorexia is an obsession with health, which I think is a really important one to talk about because we can see people getting caught up in the quote-unquote clean eating phases and keto this and diet that. And if you're in all of these diets, not because you have an actual medical reason to be, but just because that's trendy or that's cool or that's what you think you quote-unquote should be doing, that can be a really slippery slope toward becoming obsessed with that and really landing in that disordered eating or even eating disorder space. So definitely seeking support.
So what does support look like? And when someone realizes like, okay, that is something I need help with, I didn't realize, what steps did you take to actually get help with that?
For sure. So there's lots of different resources online. I personally love connecting people with resources. So if they want to reach out to me, they're more than welcome to. And I can send some therapists over or some dietitians, whatever they need. But on a bigger scale, the Alliance for Eating Disorders Awareness is a huge resource, has a ton of professionals. NEDA is a very well-known resource as well, NEDA. And those both have huge amounts of therapists and professionals that are vetted and eating disorder informed. And IADEP, and I'm not going to spell it right, I believe it's IAEDP, but it's the Association for Eating Disorder Professionals. And so that's another great resource where you can find something called non-diet dietitians, which are dietitians. They've gone through all of the schooling and they are focused on your relationship with food. So if you go to a dietitian, you might expect to see meal plans and eat this, don't eat that, or here's your macros and calories or whatever. And a non-diet dietitian is going to step away from all of that and say, okay, if you leave food on the plate, what does that do for you mentally? Does that stress you out? Was that something you got yelled at for as a kid? How might that impact you today? They'll talk about foods that you feel like out of control, air quotes, around. So for me, frozen yogurt was a trigger food for me because it was something that actually brought a lot of joy. And I just would go eat froyo with my dad and just get a ton of it and ultimately have a binge episode on that. And then sometimes I would purge it, unfortunately, and just working out my relationship with that food, being able to eat that and be able to feel like I can use it for a fun fueling thing, but not feel like freaked out about it. was something that I worked on with a non-diet dietitian, and ultimately have peace with that food now. It's about like regaining the empowerment to know that you're in charge of the food, not the food being in charge of you. So that's a really cool thing. And then the therapist, there's talk therapy, there's hypnotherapy, there's lots of different ways that people can approach the more mindset space.
Yeah. And so you would say like therapy helped you in like a dietitian, or you just kind of, those were like some of the resources that you use?
For sure.
Okay. What do you say, do you think women have more of the body positive negativity, or do you feel like both sexes deal with that?
Yeah, I think it's everyone. Statistically, I know it's everyone. It can show up with different genders and different gender identities differently. There's a huge prevalence of body image struggles and eating disorders in the LGBTQ population, and men, people who identify as male, can tend to have the body image struggles of I want to be bigger, I want to be taller, I want to be stronger. And just because it's a different headspace around body image doesn't mean that it is any less serious, any less worthy of support and resources. And also women, the conversation around wanting people to shrink their bodies is obviously very common, and that can create a lot of body dissatisfaction. But I know a lot of women that are in smaller bodies and they have insecurity about that too. So it's just an overall dissatisfaction with the skin that you're in. And I think that unfortunately we live in a society where that's so culturally accepted that it's almost weird if someone is truly happy with their body, and we're like, why is she so full of herself, or why are they so full of themselves? It's like, come on, y'all, like, this is a good thing to celebrate that we can all get towards. Sure, there's going to be bad body image days regardless.
Yeah.
You're not going to walk around being obsessed with every inch of you constantly, but props if you do. But that's not really the goal. The goal is just that peace, that empowerment, that fulfillment in the skin that you're in, and that's definitely something worth working for.
It is. And I would like to know.
Call Starks Byron today for all your personal injury needs. We help professionals get back to living the life they love after a traumatic car wreck. 404-795-5115. They can find us online at Starks Byron Law. That's going to be our Instagram handle. Our Facebook is Starks Byron as well.
I am back with Rachel White. What is this? What are we looking at right here?
So this is the CTN E-Cabin full body cryotherapy.
Yes.
It's all electric, so there's no nitrogen, so that eliminates the risk of getting burnt. So it's like a big freezer.
Woo.
Right now we're at negative 249.7 degrees inside, and it's gonna get intense.
Ooh. For a second.
The first 30 seconds is always the hardest.
What can this gym like do? What do you guys offer? Tell us like the different things that you offer for your clients here.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So we love our group exercise classes, and we're actually going through a bit of a rebrand right now to really be focused more on classes, because we really want to be able to speak to more people at once and support more people at once, and would love to have a wider attendance and wider scope of our group exercise classes. So those are going to be our bread and butter. Currently, our bread and butter is personal training, which is virtual or in person, and that's been so awesome. I've loved the process of building out our PT team, and what's really cool about it is we actually hand select the trainer for each client that comes through the door. So it's about your goals, it's about what you enjoy, it's about what you might be nervous about. We get a lot of people that are like, I've never worked with a trainer and I'm scared, and want to make sure that they're not telling me to go do burpees and jump off of boxes and all this stuff, and I want to take it slow. We're like, we got you, no worries. So
yeah, they don't want to do the extreme, because it's always extreme.
Yeah,
like when you
exactly.
go to a gym, and they always kind of like, it's never like they're holding your hand. It's like, just do it, you know.
Exactly.
And that makes a lot of people shy away and not commit to it. I want to talk about how parents can talk to their children in a positive way. Because you'll have the doctor say, hey, your child is, obese, like in front of your child. Like literally, like you'll have to have a conversation like, hey, don't say that. But like, what do you do when, you know, there's a risk of maybe diabetes or something, because maybe, you know, there is a little bit, they are a little bit on the bigger side, and how do you coach your child to have healthier habits, you know, and not like portray like, hey, you're just too big, or, you know, or something like that. I think that parents need to be able to affirm also positive criticism.
For sure. Yeah, no, I think there's so much that comes to mind for that. Unfortunately, the American Academy of Pediatrics has just dropped some new research that they're promoting weight loss interventions for kids as young as 2, which I have massive issues with.
What?
So I have a whole blog about that. Isn't that nonsense? It makes me so mad. So they're doing a lot. They are also recommending bariatric surgery for kids as young as 11. Really frustrating stuff.
Oh, no.
All of that to say, the fat phobia as a social justice issue, as a medical issue, really, really runs deep in this country, among the world. And there's a lot of data, again, about health and weight being separate. So one study that comes to mind is they had different groups of people. The phrase obesity or morbid obesity is connected to BMI, which has some medical issues with it. It doesn't really stand up as a credible metric because it's super simplified and just cost effective and fast, and so a lot of different medical like insurances use it. So they did classify these people in groups based on BMI, which there's some issues with that, but basically someone had a group of quote-unquote normal weight, obese, and morbidly obese people, and they did, I forget which of the health interventions they did, but let's say that it was moderate exercise, eating fruits and vegetables, drinking water, and getting enough sleep. And I can send you this study so you can read it. But it was these different health interventions on these 3 people, and even though after a certain amount of time none of their weights changed, their health metrics changed drastically. So their likelihood for diabetes, their likelihood for a healthy life actually evened out toward the end of the study among all 3 groups, the classified normal, the obese, and the morbidly obese, just by incorporating these health metrics, these health choices. So it had nothing to do with weight loss, it had to do with different activities that they were doing. So there's a lot of talk about that, a lot of data coming out that's just refocusing on more of the behaviors and less of the weight. And even for things like diabetes, if we focus on taking care of our bodies without the extremes, if we focus on just fulfilling what we need to do to treat our body with respect and care, we can see those metrics really shift. And I've worked with clients of all shapes and sizes and all different health backgrounds, and just incorporating movement for my diabetic clients have set their numbers totally off the scale in the right direction, whether or not they've lost weight. So it's really, really important that we open the conversation up to different things that don't have to do with weight, which is really hard. Like you said, if the doctor's breathing down your neck like they're obese, then it's really hard to hear that. But it's important to pay attention to the bigger picture. Yeah,
because I mean, the digital age, you know, the kids are more, you know, inside and all of that, and I think that it should be. And you should incorporate sunshine and, you know, and more activity, and that will solve a lot of problems. For sure. You know what I mean? And then, like you said, it could be a good issue. Like my baby boy, he can't do gluten. Figured that out. He still has tummy issues to this day. He's very food sensitive. He's allergic to a lot of different foods. Yeah. So now he's getting better at it, but it's almost like sometimes he'll like, oh, I have a stomach ache, you know. And one day they came home and it's like, we want to get abs. I'm like, why you want to get abs? I'm like, because Dad has abs and we want abs too. I'm like, well, you don't have to worry about abs right now. Right. You know, so I mean, so they do kind of see different body types, and they think that they should look like that. And I always say, just be the best version of yourself, and you know you're fine the way you are. Exactly. And you know, if you do want to change, you know, just one day at a time. It's not nothing's gonna happen overnight. And I think a lot of people, you know, are used to the microwave, and I want it now. So that's why you see an uptick in a bunch of surgeries and things of that nature. Which, hey, that is your choice as well. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. But if it's to the point where you don't love yourself, then that may need to be a therapy appointment.
Right, for sure.
You know, so I mean, I'm not opposed to any of that because everybody has their, their freedom of choice.
Definitely.
But I wanted to ask you 3 things that your family would say describe you.
Aw, I love that question. I would say bubbly.
Okay, bubbly. I get, yes, you are bubbly. You are, yeah.
Sometimes annoyingly so as well.
That's okay. I am the bubbly person in my family.
I
too.
love that. It's fun. We just you gotta keep the energy
You
up.
gotta keep the energy up. You gotta keep the energy up.
Gotta make everybody happy.
Exactly. Exactly. So bubbly.
Bubbly, I'd say positive.
Yes.
And driven.
Ooh. What's next for Clarity Fitness?
Next for Clarity Fitness, we're looking at a Sandy Springs location.
Ooh, that's by me.
Yay!
Woo!
We'll be over by you.
Yes,
really
yes,
excited.
yeah.
And that's where a lot of the eating disorder treatment centers are too.
Amazing.
So that'll be really, really awesome to just be more.
I'm excited for you on that end.
Thank you.
So you'll be traveling
I'm
between
excited.
both?
Mm-hmm. But I live in Brookhaven right now, so it's
so you
an easy
oh,
L.
That's perfect.
That way.
That's perfect. Give me one inspirational line that you could leave to somebody, who could be just like you.
Yeah.
And just a little word of positivity.
For sure. So I would leave y'all with the Clarity Fitness slogan, which is "You are enough." And I remember in my eating disorder recovery, it's when you hear the words, it's empowering, but when you really, really, truly recognize that, like today, without losing another pound, without achieving anything else at work, without whatever else might be on your to-do list for life, you are enough as you are today. When you can really believe that and let that soak in, because it really is true, that is just total goosebumps and really, really fulfills you, builds up your stamina, but fills up your cup, and that was a big part of my recovery. So you are enough.
You are enough, and we're out.
Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe, and go over to our YouTube to see more of the Cure Girl podcast and experience. Stay well.